Barron Trump, the youngest son of Donald and Melania Trump, has grown up in a world full of noise and attention. From the moment he was born, his life has been different from most children. His father was a businessman and later became the President of the United States, which meant Barron's family was always in the spotlight. The world watched them closely, and Barron, being so young, had to face things most kids don't. As a child of the president, Barron was not like other children. He lived in a big White House, surrounded by Secret Service agents and security. He had many people watching over him, not just for safety, but also because of the attention his family got. Barron did not have the chance to play freely in the streets like many children. His world was smaller and more controlled. One thing that makes Barron different is that he is very quiet. He does not like to be in the spotlight. While his father and mother were often in the media, Barron stayed mostly out of view. He did not speak much about his personal life or share his thoughts with the public. This made him a mystery to many people. People wanted to know more about him, but he kept to himself. Barron's quiet nature is part of his personality. He is not someone who seeks attention or likes to talk about his life. While his father gave speeches and his mother worked on public projects, Barron focused on things that were important to him, like his education and his hobbies. He spent a lot of time playing sports and studying, keeping busy with things that brought him joy, not attention. Despite his quiet nature, Barron had to learn how to deal with the world's interest in him. Many children at his school and in the public often asked him questions or talked about him, but Barron didn't share much. He knew that the more he said, the more people would focus on him, and so he chose to stay silent, letting his actions speak louder than his words. One important thing to understand about Barron is that he was always protected. His mother, Melania Trump, worked hard to shield him from the pressures of living in such a famous family. She knew the world was watching, and she wanted Barron to have a normal childhood, despite the unusual circumstances. Barron's world was quiet and calm at home, away from the noise of politics and the media. This allowed him to grow up in a more peaceful environment than many would expect from the child of a president. In this silent world, Barron was able to enjoy his private time and focus on his growth. He learned to deal with challenges quietly, without making a fuss. Even though he grew up in the public eye, Barron always chose to stay out of it, living a life that was very different from what most people saw. The silent world of Barron Trump is one of protection and calm. It is a world where he can be himself without the constant pressure of being in the spotlight. And for Barron, this quiet life is something that keeps him grounded, allowing him to grow up like any other child, despite the fame surrounding his family. Melania Trump, Barron Trump's mother, has always played a very important role in protecting her son from the world outside. As the First Lady of the United States, she faced a lot of attention, not just because of her position, but also because of her background as a former model. People wanted to know everything about her and her family, especially her son, Barron. But Melania was determined to shield him from the public eye as much as possible. From the beginning, Melania was very protective of Barron. She knew how difficult it could be for children to grow up in a family that is constantly in the spotlight. As a young boy, Barron didn't ask for the attention, and Melania wanted him to have a normal childhood despite the extraordinary circumstances. She made sure that Barron had the privacy he needed. She took him out of the media's view and kept his life away from unnecessary attention. Melania, as a mother, was always there for Barron, especially during his father's presidency. She understood that living in the White House could be overwhelming for a young child, and she worked hard to create a calm and safe environment for him. While many people outside the White House were focused on politics and the actions of the president, Melania made sure Barron's life remained as peaceful as possible. Outside of the White House, the world was full of noise. People talked about politics, the president, and his family. There were always people waiting outside their home to take pictures and ask questions. But Barron, under his mother's protection, didn't have to deal with this as much as his parents did. Melania made sure to shield him from this attention, and she kept him away from the media and the public. She wanted Barron to focus on school, sports, and his personal growth, rather than the spotlight that came with his last name. Melania's love and care for Barron were clear. She taught him to value privacy, and that was something they both held dear. Even though Barron's father was the president, Melania made sure that Barron could still have time for himself, to be a child without the pressure of the outside world. She believed that everyone needed their own space, especially when you are growing up. Through all the challenges of being a public figure, Melania was Barron's shield. She was there to protect him from the harshness of public life, to keep him grounded, and to ensure that he could grow up in a world that was as normal as possible. In a world that was filled with attention and chaos, Melania created a safe space for Barron, a place where he could find peace and stability. The world outside may have been full of noise and chaos, but inside the White House, Barron found the calm and support he needed, thanks to his mother's protection. She made sure that despite everything going on in the world, Barron could live his life as a child, without the constant pressure of being watched. And that was the most important gift Melania could give her son. As Barron Trump grew older, he began to understand more about the world around him. Living in the White House, surrounded by constant attention and the responsibilities of his family, Barron faced challenges that many children did not. However, he was determined to find his own way, separate from the expectations placed on him because of his last name. In the beginning, Barron was a quiet boy. He preferred to stay out of the spotlight and focus on the things that mattered to him, like his studies and hobbies. His mother, Melania, always encouraged him to be himself and not to feel pressured by what others expected of him. She taught him that he didn't have to live up to anyone's idea of who he should be. Instead, he could define his own path and follow his own dreams. For Barron, finding his voice was a gradual process. As he got older, he began to realize that it was okay to express his thoughts and feelings, even if they were different from what people expected. Barron started to enjoy more activities outside of school, and he began to open up to those around him. He became more interested in things like sports, art, and technology. These interests helped him discover his passions and talents, allowing him to feel confident in himself. Despite the world's eyes being on him, Barron wanted to live a life that was true to who he was. He didn't want to be defined by his family's position or the expectations that came with it. He understood that his parents, especially his father, were in the public eye. But Barron wanted to create his own identity outside of that. This desire led him to focus on his own hobbies, learning skills that he would carry with him throughout his life. Barron's path to finding his own voice wasn't always easy. He had to deal with a lot of pressure and attention from the outside world. People were always curious about his opinions, his life, and even his actions. But Barron remained focused on what mattered to him. He didn't let the constant spotlight change who he was or how he saw the world. He understood that being true to yourself is more important than trying to meet others' expectations. As Barron grew, he found comfort in the simple things that brought him joy. He spent time with his family, which gave him a sense of support and security. Melania and Donald Trump always emphasized the importance of family and being true to yourself. With their guidance, Barron was able to explore different interests and slowly build confidence in his own abilities. One of the biggest steps Barron took in finding his voice was learning to speak out about what he cared about. For many years, he had stayed quiet, letting others speak for him. But as he got older, Barron started to realize that his opinions were just as valuable as anyone else's. He understood that he had a voice that could make a difference, and it was time to use it. Barron's path wasn't always easy, but it was uniquely his. He learned to navigate the challenges of being in the public eye while still maintaining his individuality. Barron embraced his own interests and dreams, and through this process, he grew into someone who could confidently define his own future. He showed that, no matter who you are or where you come from, it's possible to find your own voice and carve out your own path in life. Ultimately, Barron Trump's journey to finding his voice is about more than just being the son of a president. It's about learning to be yourself, no matter the pressure from the outside world. Barron is still young, and his journey is just beginning, but the lessons he has learned will guide him as he continues to grow and define his own future. The world will always have its opinions, but Barron is learning to trust himself and follow the path that feels right for him. Barron Trump's story is one of quiet strength, personal growth, and the search for one's true identity. As the son of a president, Barron was constantly in the spotlight, watched by millions around the world. However, his journey is not about fame or public attention. It's about finding himself, understanding his own path, and defining who he wanted to be. From a young age, Barron was sheltered from the noise of the world by his mother, Melania, who encouraged him to embrace his individuality and never feel pressured to live up to others' expectations. His life in the White House, though filled with luxury and privilege, was not without its challenges. He struggled with being constantly in the public eye, with people judging him because of his family name rather than for who he truly was. Despite the difficulties, Barron managed to navigate this complex world, always striving to stay true to himself. Throughout the years, Barron began to explore his own interests. He became more involved in hobbies like sports and art, slowly building his confidence. While many expected him to follow the path that others set for him, Barron refused. He chose to walk his own path, learning that it is okay to be different, and that one's true strength comes from embracing who they really are. Barron's journey shows us that finding your own voice is not always easy, especially when you are constantly compared to others. But it also teaches us that with patience, self-belief, and support from those who care about us, we can achieve anything. Barron's story reminds us that we are all capable of creating our own future, and that our true worth lies in our ability to be ourselves. The most important lesson we can learn from Barron's story is the importance of staying true to ourselves. In a world full of pressures and expectations, it's easy to lose sight of what makes us unique. But just like Barron, we all have the power to define our own future. We don't have to follow the path that others have set for us. Instead, we should focus on our own passions, interests, and dreams. This way, we can build confidence and embrace our individuality. Barron's story also teaches us the value of resilience. Despite the challenges he faced, he did not give up. He found strength in being himself, and over time, he grew into someone who was confident in his own abilities. This lesson is essential in all aspects of life, whether it's at school, work, or in our personal relationships. We all face obstacles, but with determination and self-belief, we can overcome them. Now, let's test your understanding of the story. Please answer the following question. What was the most important lesson from Barron's story? A. It's important to follow others' expectations. B. Stay true to yourself and trust your own path. Please comment your answer below A or B. Congratulations for listening to the entire story. You've not only improved your English listening skills, but also learned an important lesson about staying true to yourself. If you enjoyed the story, please make sure to subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. Your support will motivate us to keep creating more quality material for you. Also, if you feel inspired by this content and would like to help us continue making educational videos, we would greatly appreciate your donations. The early stages of creating content like this can be tough, but with your support, we can continue providing free lessons to help you learn English. Thank you for being a part of our community.